For over 25 years, One Piece fans have been trying to solve the biggest mystery in anime. What happened during the Void Century? Who is Emu? What is the One Piece? We've searched through real history, mythology, and ancient legends for answers. But what if we've been looking in the wrong place? What if the blueprint for Oda's entire world has been hiding inside one of the oldest and most controversial books ever written? A book so dangerous that it was removed from almost every version of the Bible. The Book of Enoch. What if the celestial dragons, the giants, the multiple moons, the destruction of the world all trace back to this one forgotten text? Because once you start comparing them, the similarities become almost impossible to ignore. And if that's true, Oda may have been telling us the ending from the very beginning. Okay, before we dive off the deep end, let's just set the stage and revisit the mysteries that have been driving us all mad for decades. First up, the Void Century, a 100-year blind spot in history, deliberately and brutally erased by a mysterious group. If you even dare to study it, you get a buster call to your front door. We know there was a great war, an ancient kingdom with mind-blowing technology, and a legendary figure named Joy Boy. After that war, 20 kings came together to form the world government, and their descendants, the celestial dragons, now swan around the holy land of Mary Joie, acting like gods. Then there's the planet itself, which is fundamentally broken. You have the Red Line, this impossibly huge continent wall that wraps around the entire globe, and the Grand Line, a sea where the weather is so chaotic it's almost impossible to navigate. And let's not forget the mystery in space. In the O'Hara Library, the smartest people in the world had a model of their solar system. It didn't just have one moon, it was a planet, orbited by 6 other moons. But whenever we look up at the sky in One Piece today, there's only one. So where did the others go? And finally, you have all the different races. Fishmen, minks, the godlike Lunarians, and of course, giants. The world government has this deeply creepy, centuries-long obsession with creating artificial giants, bankrolling thousands of horrific experiments. It all feels connected, but no one has ever been able to snap the pieces together. These aren't just random fantasy ideas. They are the shattered fragments of a history so completely destroyed that no one even remembers what the world is supposed to look like. And that brings us to the key that might just unlock everything, the Book of Enoch. If you've never heard of it, it's an ancient Jewish text supposedly written by Noah's great-grandfather. Early Christians and Jews were fascinated by it, but it was so controversial that it was systematically removed from almost every version of the Bible. Why? Because it gets into the nitty-gritty details of angels, demons, and the true origin of sin. It describes a war in heaven, forbidden knowledge passed to humanity, and a world so corrupt it had to be annihilated by a great flood. This book is a blueprint for cosmic disaster, and it tells the exact same story as One Piece's hidden history. Alright, get ready to put on your tinfoil hats, because we are going full-blown theory mode. I am not saying Oda has come out and confirmed this, but the parallels are so uncanny you won't be able to unsee them. There are 3 connections that will change how you see everything. Let's start with the gods of the One Piece world. The celestial dragons are the self-proclaimed gods. They're the descendants of the 20 kings who founded the world government 800 years ago. They live up high on the Red Line in Mary Joie, a holy land they believe is heaven, far above the common folk. Their name literally means heavenly dragons. They descended from their thrones to rule the world. Now, let's crack open the Book of Enoch. The story begins with the sins of angels. It describes 200 angels known as the Watchers, whose job was simply to watch over humanity from heaven. But they became consumed with lust for human women and made a pact. Led by an angel named Semyaza, they descended from the heavens, took human wives, and proceeded to ruin everything. The parallels are staggering. You have a group of heavenly beings who descend from their sacred home to rule over everyone else. The celestial dragons view themselves as divine, completely separate from humanity, just like the Watchers. One of the 20 founding families, the Don Quixote family, even abandoned their divinity to live among humans, which is a perfect mirror of what the Watchers did when they descended. But here's the kicker. The Watchers' greatest sin wasn't just having kids, it was giving humanity forbidden knowledge. An angel named Azazel taught men how to forge swords and shields, which led to endless war. They also revealed secrets of magic and astrology, corrupting humanity and making it unbelievably violent. Now think about One Piece. The world government, created by the celestial dragon's ancestors, ruthlessly bans knowledge. They will exterminate anyone who tries to study the Void Void Century or the Poneglyphs. It's the ultimate forbidden knowledge. This theory posits that the original 20 kings, just like the Watchers, discovered some form of world-destroying power, perhaps the ancient weapons, and in using it, they created the corrupt, broken world we see today. They came down from their holy land, used a forbidden power to reshape the planet, and then erased all evidence of their crime. The celestial dragons aren't just kings, they are the jailers of their own ancestors' ultimate sin. Okay, let's pause for a second. We've just drawn a direct line between the monstrous celestial dragons and a group of fallen angels from the Book of Enoch called the Watchers. Both groups came down from the heavens to rule, and both are obsessed with suppressing a forbidden knowledge that completely wrecked the world. That alone is wild. But the Book of Enoch doesn't stop there. It tells us what happened next. It describes the children of these fallen angels, and their story might just solve one of the longest running and strangest mysteries in all of One Piece. What if the giants of Elbaf and the world government's bizarre obsession with creating them are all tied to the monstrous children of the Watchers? The Book of Enoch claims that when the fallen Watcher angels and human women had children, they spawned a terrifying new race, giants, known as the Nephilim. These weren't just tall dudes. The text describes them as ravenous, destructive abominations. They devoured all of humanity's food, and when that ran out, they began eating humans, and then they started eating each other. Their very existence was a crime against nature, and their endless violence is the reason God decided to flood the entire world. Now, let's jump back to One Piece. Giants are a huge part of the world, from the proud warriors of Elbaf to ancient monsters like Oars. But the biggest clue here is the world government's twisted, centuries-long obsession with manufacturing their own giants. They've been pouring money into horrific gigantification experiments for ages. We saw it on Punk Hazard, with Caesar Clown's sick experiments on children. Why this obsession? Why spend hundreds of years and billions of berries trying to copy another race? This theory suggests that the original giants are, just like the Nephilim, the product of a divine race mixing with humans. We've already established the celestial dragons as our watchers. What if, back in the Void Century, their ancestors mingled with humans and created the first giants? This would make the giants of Elbaf the living, breathing evidence of a divine crime, identical to the Nephilim. It would also explain the world government's obsession. If the celestial dragons see themselves as gods, then the giants are proof of their ancestors' divine power, a potential bloodline of super soldiers. Their gigantification experiments are a perverse attempt to recreate their own divine lineage and reclaim a power their ancestors once wielded. It gets even deeper. Consider the Buccaneer race, which Kuma is a part of. They are said to possess the blood of giants, giving them unbelievable strength. And what happened to them? They were hunted and enslaved by the world government. If we apply the Enoch theory, a disturbing social hierarchy emerges. The original giants of Elbaf could be the direct descendants of the divine kings, the pure-blood Nephilim. The Buccaneers could be a diluted bloodline, maybe descendants of lesser nobles, who still have immense power but are seen as a threat to be controlled by the pure celestial dragons. The giants aren't just another fantasy race. They are a living scar on history, a constant, towering reminder of the celestial dragon's original sin. This is where the theory goes from historical to absolutely cosmic. We've got the fallen rulers and their giant offspring. Now, let's look up at the sky. A huge part of the Book of Enoch is Enoch's guided tour through the seven heavens. In this ancient cosmology, reality is composed of stacked layers. The first heaven contains the clouds and stars. The second is a prison for fallen angels. And the seventh, highest heaven, is the location of God's throne. Now, let's go back to that jaw-dropping globe in the O'Hara Library. The smartest people in the world who were illegally studying the lost history had a model of their planet. That model shows their world at the center, surrounded by 6 orbiting moons. A planet plus its 6 companions makes for 7 major celestial bodies in their sky. It's a perfect mirror of the 7 heavens from the Book of Enoch. For years, fans have debated whether the One Piece world literally used to have multiple moons. This theory answers with a definitive yes. What if the One Piece world once had a sky with 7 celestial bodies, a physical manifestation of these 7 heavens? And more critically, what happened to them? Today, we only see a single lonely moon. Anel's cover story gives us a massive clue. He flies to the moon and discovers the ruins of an ancient, hyper-advanced city called Birka, built by winged people who descended to the Blue Sea after running out of resources. This proves the moon was once inhabited by a technologically advanced race. Then you have King, a Lunarian, from a race once revered as gods who lived atop the red line. This theory proposes a cataclysm of almost unimaginable proportions. What if the 20 kings, the ancestors of the world government, did something that caused the other moons to be destroyed or to fall out of orbit? This fall of the heavens would have been a genuine apocalypse. The debris from 6 shattered moons raining down upon the planet could have literally created the red line. The sudden, violent gravitational shift would throw the world's oceans into absolute chaos, creating the wild, unpredictable Grand Line and the windless calm belts. Even the bizarre magnetic fields of each island, which force sailors to use a log pose, could be explained by giant metallic chunks of the fallen moons buried deep within the planet's crust. This connects everything. The celestial dragon's ancestors, our Watchers, didn't just corrupt humanity. Their lust for power may have literally shattered the heavens. The world of One Piece isn't naturally chaotic. It's a broken, post-apocalyptic wasteland, still reeling from a war that tore its own solar system apart. And now we've reached the final, terrifying climax of this theory. In the Book of Enoch, the corruption of the Watchers and the destruction wrought by their Nephilim children becomes so rampant that God decides the world needs a hard reset. The solution is the Great Flood, a divine cataclysm meant to wipe the slate clean, destroying the giants and giving the world a fresh start with Noah. The flood is a divine punishment for the sin of mixing heaven and earth. Now, what is the ultimate threat whispered in the halls of the world government in One Piece? We've heard the 5 elders speak of a great cleansing. We've even seen them use it. Anytime an island like Ohara learns too much, it is completely obliterated, erased from maps and from history. Imu possesses a weapon, which many believe is the ancient weapon Uranus, that can annihilate an entire island from the sky, leaving nothing behind but a gaping hole in the ocean. This great cleansing is the world government's modern-day, high-tech version of the Great Flood, a tool of absolute destruction used to maintain their power. But this theory suggests the real Great Flood of the One Piece world already happened. The apocalypse that destroyed the moons and carved the Red Line and Grand Line into the planet was their Great Flood. It wasn't a flood of water, but a flood of cosmic debris and gravitational chaos, perhaps used as a punishment for the sins of the Ancient Kingdom, or as the ultimate weapon in the war against the Ancient Kingdom. This completely reframes the entire story. The world isn't just broken, it was deliberately broken and then placed under the absolute control of the very people who broke it. The world government's absolute justice is a complete lie, designed to prevent the world from ever being fixed. Because if the world were ever restored to its original state, the Red Line would have to come down. The oceans would have to be reunited. And what have fans predicted for the end of One Piece for years? The destruction of the Red Line, which would in turn destroy Mary Joie and Fishman Island. This would finally unite the 4 seas, North, South, East, and West Blue, into a single unified ocean. And what do you call one ocean where fish from all 4 seas can finally meet? The All Blue. Sanji's lifelong dream. This means Luffy's final war won't just be a battle, it will be a second cataclysm, a controlled demolition of the world, a new flood to undo the damage of the first, a cleansing to wash away the 800-year-old sins of the celestial dragons and restore the world to what it was always meant to be. So what does this all mean for the future of One Piece? If this theory holds water, Luffy's journey is so much bigger than just becoming the Pirate King. He is the inheritor of Joy Boy's will, a will from a time before the world was shattered. Luffy's ultimate purpose isn't just to find a treasure, it's to physically and spiritually restore the entire world. He's the warrior of liberation, and what could be a greater liberation than freeing the entire planet from a broken geography and a history built on lies? His final war against Imu and the Celestial Dragons will be a fight to trigger a second cataclysm, but a purposeful one this time. He will bring the dawn not just by exposing the truth, but by physically reshaping the planet, creating the All Blue, and allowing all the world's races, human, fishman, mink, and giant to live together under one sun in one great ocean. The One Piece itself might not be gold or jewels, but the knowledge, or perhaps the tool needed to make this restoration possible. The final piece of the puzzle to undo 800 years of corruption. This single theory, rooted in the forbidden Book of Enoch, provides a unified answer for the world's greatest mysteries. The celestial dragons are the Watchers, fallen gods desperate to hide their original crime. The giants are the Nephilim, the powerful, monstrous proof of that crime. The multiple moons are the seven heavens, and their destruction created the broken world we see today. And the Great Cleansing is the world government's twisted echo of the Great Flood, while Luffy's destiny is to bring about a final, healing flood of his own. Eiichiro Oda is an absolute master. He has borrowed from countless world myths to build his story. It is entirely possible that he took the core narrative of one of history's most fascinating and forbidden books, a story of fallen gods, monster giants, and a shattered world cleansed by a flood, and used it as the secret spine for One Piece. The parallels are just too clean, too perfect to be a simple coincidence. Oda didn't just write a pirate story, he built a modern mythology, and the key to unlocking it all may have been... But that's my take. I want to know what you think. Do you believe the Book of Enoch could be the secret blueprint for One Piece? Or is this just a wild coincidence? Are there other parallels you saw that I might have missed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments right now. I genuinely read every single one. If you enjoyed this insane deep dive into the lore of One Piece, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe for more theories that will blow your mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.